This is the F-15EX, the US Air Force's newest fighter jet. But for the last 20 years, we've been told that the future of aerial combat is stealth and unmanned aircraft. So why does the future look like this? To answer that question, we're diving into this jet's history, getting rare access with an F-15 test pilot, and ending it all with one of the craziest flights of my life.
All right, Sam, you want to go ahead and fly?
Let's do it.
All right, yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
So we're about to walk into Building 75, which is Boeing's final assembly, where they finish manufacturing all of their latest aircraft to be delivered to the US military and allied countries all over the world. Now, it's one of the coolest hangars I've ever seen, and I want to show you why. All right, here we go. Safety glasses on. Now, back behind me is the F-18 Super Hornet, and in front of me is an aircraft I'm seeing for the very first time, the T-7 Red Hawk, which is going to be used to train fighter pilots for years to come. But over this way is the aircraft I'm really excited to introduce you to. It's what the subject of this video is all about, the F-15EX. It was built off the design of the F-15E Strike Eagle that first flew back in 1986. And if you put up a photo of the two aircraft side by side, to the untrained eye, they look pretty similar. But that's about where the similarities end, because this EX is by far the most advanced and tricked out version of the Eagle ever built. And to help us learn more about this platform, there's someone I want to introduce you to. His name is Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Oldie, call sign Kane, and he knows more about this aircraft and what it's like to fly it than just about anyone else. Lieutenant Colonel Oldie, great to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Now, I want to make sure the viewers understand your job because it's fascinating, right? So whenever Boeing rolls one of these new EXs off the production line, it first comes to you. You're an active duty Air Force pilot and you get to test this jet, right? Put it through the ringer to make sure it's ready to be handed off to the active duty Air Force, right? Do I have that correct?
Effectively, yeah. After it comes off the assembly line, the Boeing test pilots fly it, and then they hand it to me as the Air Force representative here with my backseater, and then we flip every switch, we take it to the edge of the envelope, restart motors at the edge of the envelope to make sure that it's ready to go to the United States Air Force.
So a little bit later on, that is actually the flight. I'm going to be in the back seat with Kane to see what that is like. But before we do that, I'd love for you to take us on a little bit of a walk around to learn what makes the EX so unique.
Absolutely. Let's go. The F-15EX is the latest F-15 to be produced here at Boeing St. Louis for the United States Air Force. Previous versions of the F-15 were mechanical flight controls, so the pilot would actuate an input, the flight controls would be actuated in the direction that the pilot wanted. With fly-by-wire, the pilot has a vote, the computer takes that information and goes, I think that the pilot wants to move the jet in this way, and what that allows for is an incredibly maneuverable F-15, and you'll see that on our flight.
So let's talk about this radar, because I know it's one of the most powerful radars to ever be in an F-15. What does that allow you guys to do?
Yeah, ASA radar, it's an electronic beam that is manipulated and moved by the computer. And so you effectively turn the corner and you see the entire airspace, all the contacts. When we take off out of St. Louis, we're gonna level off and we're gonna see every airliner that's out there almost instantly. Moving on to the weapons on this aircraft, the M61A1 gun, 20mm round that it shoots, multiple different kinds of rounds. It can also carry those 12 advanced missiles plus bombs.
So I'm trying to do the math here. So for 12, what does that look like? How many on the wings? How many actually are underneath?
So you're gonna have 2 on the outboard station, 2 on the inboard station there. That's 8 total. And then you're gonna have 2 down here on the shoulder stations and then 2 on the other side on the shoulder stations. So that's 12 total AMRAAMs.
The reason you can carry so many missiles is because you guys aren't trying to be stealthy.
Absolutely. Nothing carries more than the F-15EX.
So we're now going to take you for a look inside the cockpit, and this is where you can really see the advancements of decades of newer technology over the legacy F-15 Eagle. But I had to stop right here because look at that. That's what the Boeing team here surprised me with. We've done a lot of flights. I've never had my name actually on the side of the aircraft, which is pretty sweet. And I realized after we take a look inside, the next time I'll be on this ladder or the stairs walking up will be for my actual flight. So better get myself a little bit familiarized.
All right, welcome to the front cockpit of the F-15EX. It does not look like a legacy F-15 cockpit in any way. This 19-inch wide, large area display, 1080 all touchscreen. One of the checks we do is a roll limiter check, and you slam the stick as hard as you can at Mach 0.95 at low altitude, so 10,000 feet. You're going to get 8.8, 8.9, 9.0 Gs. You're looking for the jet to protect itself, never rip the wings off yet.
Nice. It's probably a good time to ask about the back seat. What's the role of the back seater? Can it do everything you can do here in the front?
So the back seat has full flight controls, a stick and a throttle in the back seat. The Wizzo in the back seat's gonna manage all the sensors, all the weapons with those two hand controllers.
It's probably as comfy as a ride as you can get in a fighter jet these days, I feel like.
I agree with you. You got space for some bags if you go cross country. I'm very blessed to be able to do this for as many years as I have, and I wouldn't change anything.
Well, Kane, thank you so much for the tour of this aircraft, and I hope everyone can see just how impressive it is. But when talking about the EX, you have to go back and talk about the history of the legendary F-15 platform. And there's one record that's so insane, it will absolutely blow your mind. The F-15 has an air-to-air kill ratio of 106-0. That means the Eagle has shot down 106 enemy aircraft without being shot down itself over the last 5 decades since this plane first flew. That number is almost hard to comprehend today and is a stat that's made the F-15 known as one of the most successful fighter jets in history. But to understand why the newest version, the EX, even exists, you have to understand how a jet designed in the late 1960s became so dominant that over 50 years later, Boeing is still building the next evolution of it.
The airplane we're unveiling today represents a major addition to our foundation of strength.
The F-15A was the original single-seat version of the Eagle that was first introduced to the world back in 1972.
I christen the Eagle, and may you reign in your domain.
This was just 5 years after the Soviet Union revealed its MiG-25 Foxbat, a high-speed, high-altitude interceptor aircraft that made the United States realize they needed an answer. And did they ever get one? For the first time, a fighter jet could spot enemy aircraft from far away, could shoot at them before they knew what was coming, could outrun almost anything that tried to escape, and could outmaneuver opponents that tried to fight back. The F-15A was better at basically everything that mattered. Now in 1979, the single-seat F-15C variant entered production. It featured a more advanced radar, heavier payloads, and a game-changing piece of technology known as conformal fuel tanks that shaped the aircraft's body to add additional range without sacrificing maneuverability. In 1986, a new version of the F-15 entered the scene, the F-15E Strike Eagle. With massive conformal fuel tanks for huge range, a backseat weapons systems officer to manage sensors and targeting, and the ability to carry a huge bomb load while still defending itself in combat, the Strike Eagle turned the original F-15 into a true dual-role fighter, which is when something interesting happened. Other countries who had been flying variants of the F-15 for decades expressed interest in a newer, more modern version of this aircraft with some major upgrades. We're talking about AESA radars, digital glass cockpits, fly-by-wire controls, and much more. These jets became known as the Advanced Eagle variants. At the same time, back here in the United States, the US Air Force had a problem. Their fleet of F-15Cs were getting old. So instead of starting from scratch, they made a calculated decision. Take everything learned from the Strike Eagle, take everything learned from the Advanced Eagle program, and put it into one jet. And that's how we arrive here with the F-15EX. Now, if you were paying attention earlier during the walk around, you may have noticed that there was one very important thing we left out, the engines. And I promise you that was intentional. You're about to see why. These are two General Electric F110-129 turbofan afterburning engines, which produce nearly 29,000 pounds of thrust apiece. So when combined, that's about 60,000 pounds of thrust, which is what allows the F-15 to accelerate to 2.5 times the speed of sound and carry roughly 15 tons of weapons. Now, to really feel that thrust, Boeing is going to show us something that I've never seen before, a full-up engine run with this aircraft strapped down right here in this hangar. Now, they call this area the Hush House because this is about 80 feet of hollowed out tunnel, and right now we're directly behind the engines of the F-15. Now, from what I've been told is that when they do the burner run, the plume of the engine of the Afterburner actually extends about 20 feet, which is about right here. So I can't imagine how loud this is going to be, but we're gonna find out. The anticipation, I'm nervous. I didn't even think you could stand this close to a fighter jet at full burner, but here we go. Holy that was insane. Oh, well, that was crazy, and from what I've been told, the only thing crazier than seeing an F-15 engine run from up close is feeling it from even closer. So it's about that time. I'm ready to get briefed up, geared up, and strapped in for a backseat ride in the F-15EX.
Hack 1030, welcome to Mac Flight. The weather's beautiful here. We've got a TAF that shows a little bit low cloud. Today we're gonna do what's called an acceptance check flight. We are gonna run the aircraft through its paces, push it to the edge of the envelope, flip every switch, basically flush the aircraft out. Initially, you and I, we're gonna climb high, we're gonna do the Mach run, we're gonna spiral descent down into the Mach North, and then we're gonna go pull some G's, we're gonna fly high AOA, we're gonna see more than 40 degrees AOA. By the end of the runway, we're gonna be fast, so it's gonna happen really quick. 45,000 feet, we'll just point straight at the ground, and then we'll just spiral descent and just kind of fall like a leaf. We're gonna be screaming, and then keep your legs out of the way because I'm gonna jam the stick over to the left. If you did that in a Legacy Eagle, it would bend the wings. It will knock you out. Yeah. It will put you to sleep if you're not careful. What I think Sam can expect on this flight, I've watched his other videos, the test pilot school video, I watched the Viper demo video, and those are two extremes, but today I think he's gonna experience like just pure joy of flying. We're gonna go out, it's gonna be a beautiful day in a clean Eagle, and we're gonna go Mach 2, we're gonna go high OA, we're gonna do brake turns, we're gonna get some gas, and we're gonna do it all over again, so it's gonna be pretty cool.
Viking north with an unrestricted climb up to 25 block 30 on request.
Wave to your fans.
Let's roll. I floated a few fighters, but never on a commercial runway here.
I know, you see the windows, and I just hope that there's little kids in the windows
Right.
looking and dreaming.
With the Viking departure out of here, every single time we fly, we do an unrestricted climb. It's a rocket ship, and the engines are operating at max thrust on that departure, and so it's like nothing he's ever experienced before.
EGTs are stabilizing. You ready to rock?
I'm ready to rock.
All right.
Runway 30 right, cleared for takeoff.
Blue 74, clear for takeoff 30 right, runway heading local. It's 50,
Woo!
60, 100. 2,000
Oh my gosh.
And up and down.
Absolutely incredible.
Step on the top.
Mike Blue 74, previous change approved to
Sweet.
United 1229,
Wow.
wind 3504, RNAV Hagee, runway 29er, cleared for takeoff.
Look at that.
20.77 Mach, 18,000 feet.
Wow. So just like that, we're at 41,000.
Center Mach Blue 74 is in the unrestricted climb. Pretty cool, huh?
That was incredible. It feels like a Viking.
It is nasty.
I've always heard the F-15 is like a hard jet to fly. Is the EX easy or still pretty difficult?
The F-15 takes a lot of finesse and technique. Certainly this one does too, but it is more forgiving, which is good because it allows you to focus on employing it as a weapon.
First up on the checklist is a test of raw speed. We have to prove this new airframe can handle the intense stress, so Kane is about to push the F-15EX beyond Mach 2 to make sure it handles supersonic speeds without tearing itself apart.
74, just let me know when you want to start doing your speed run.
All right, you ready to start the Mach run?
Dude, let's do it.
About to go super wet 1.5, no power. All right, 1.0 hack.
All right, we're officially supersonic.
Are you ready to go Mach 2?
Let's do it.
All right, max AB. coming up on 2. Back. Alright, so I will bring the power back to min-AB. Whoa. Decel. It's crazy, huh?
With the speed run checked off, Kane is taking us into the most unpredictable phase of the flight, a deliberate spiraling freefall. We're dropping 20,000 feet straight out of the sky to prove that the jet's flight computers and engines can survive the absolute worst aerodynamic conditions.
Alright, you ready? Here's our spiral descent.
Let's do it.
Alright, kick the boards out so we don't go super.
Woo.
42,000 feet and just dropping.
Flight slow. Pull up. Flight slow. Pull up. Flight slow. Pull up.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, it's not often you're pointed straight at the ground.
Yeah, from 49,000 feet, exactly. Remember I told you how this thing doesn't like to slow down? All right, man, the first one's going to be the nose-high low-speed recovery, like we briefed.
Okay.
The nose-high low-speed recovery. Essentially, we're flying this $100 million fighter jet into a dead stall. At this extreme pitch and low speed, the wings lose all lift, leaving our survival in the hands of the flight computers.
All right, you ready?
Let's do it.
Max, ready, now.
Idle. Up to about 60 nose high, 100 knots. And jet's recovering itself, basically.
Yeah, wow.
Next one's going to be 12,000 feet, 200 knots.
With the jet recovering in what felt like the blink of an eye, it was then on to the next item on our checklist, basic fighter maneuvers, also known as dogfighting. We'd be simulating flying slow, low to the ground, with an enemy right on our tail. To survive, Kane is going to intentionally upset the aerodynamics of the EX, snapping the tail to make the aircraft violently jerk and break the enemy's weapon tracking.
Ready, now.
And then, duck.
Whoa.
Back the other direction. And then I told him I'd come out straight ahead.
Wow.
Bingo, fuel. Bingo, fuel.
All right. Tally the tankers. All right, man, just in time. We need some gas.
Come on, say that you love me.
Aerial refueling, one of the most critical capabilities in modern air power, and a vital system to test before signing off a new aircraft. It allows the F-15EX to stay airborne longer, fly farther, and reach the fight without stopping to refuel on the ground. So as we linked up with a nearby KC-135 Stratotanker, it was time for Kane to show me exactly how it's done.
The control stick is moving just the tiniest bit as I make all these little tiny corrections. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Come on and lean on me.
There we go.
Taker 2, contact. Simple. And we're pumping.
This is so wild. Can you feel the jet get heavier if you take on a lot?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's 1,000. Well, thank you, just correct. Happy flying, boys. Appreciate that.
We're going to shut down a motor. You ready to shut down a motor?
All right, let's shut down an engine. Normally you don't want to hear that, but that's what you guys got to check for, huh?
That's correct.
All these are just crazy.
It sounds like an insane idea, but as an acceptance test pilot, Kane has to prove that if an engine ever fails in combat, it can safely be restarted in midair.
All right, guard the right side, left side's coming off. Fuel flow going down to 0.
Caution.
And 50%. Easy peasy, pretty benign. Temps coming up, fuel flows up, RPM's up. Feel that motor kind of kick in.
Yeah.
All right, motor left side is now matched to the right. All right, Sam, you want to go ahead and fly?
Let's do it.
All right,
yeah.
And red from blue, backseat's gonna fly for a few minutes. You guys ready?
Copy that, I'm back off.
14,000 feet, about 320 knots. Your jet.
All right, I have the aircraft.
All right, roll left, man. Make sure you go left.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Harder, harder. There you go. Nice.
Last time I did that, the pilot was telling me to go slow. You're like, go harder, harder.
Oh no, watch. Let me, my jet.
There's jet,
Watch
your
this,
jet.
watch this.
Whoa! Okay, all right, show off.
That's what you gotta do. A little harder. All right, your jet.
All right, I have the aircraft.
You have the aircraft. You want to try a brake turn?
Yeah, walk me through it.
All right, about 400 knots. You're gonna roll about a 90 to 110 degrees of bank, and then you are going to pull as hard as you can, straight back.
Kane is telling me to pull back on the stick as hard as I can. In older jets, doing that could literally rip the wings off the aircraft. We're testing the over-G protection software, proving that no matter how hard or violently I wrench this stick, the flight computer will step in, cap the G-forces, and protect both the airframe and my life. At least, that's what's supposed to happen. If there's a flaw, Kane and I are about to find it, the hard way.
Okay.
I'll help you walk through it. You ready?
Okay.
All right, roll left. Eight G's, 8-1. That's good, ease up.
Woo!
You're good. That was 8 G's, not bad. Only about 8.3. That was a little bit fast.
Wow. That was insane. I was like graying out. The onset's crazy. It's just like...
It's almost instantaneous.
I do it in the sim once, you don't feel the G's. It's completely different.
Yeah, exactly. Good job, though.
Thanks.
That was awesome. You could not have done that in a Mech Eagle because you might have over-G'd.
Yeah, I was going to say, normally it's not pull as hard as you can. I was like, all right. So what role do you see the F-15EX playing in this era where we hear of 5th generation stealth fighter jets? This isn't that, but it's still pretty damn impressive.
It's got wall-to-wall missiles plus air-to-surface bombs, gas for days, and with an incredible radar. All those things combined, it's going to be a formidable addition to the overall CAF fleet. DCMA is responsible for every step along the assembly line. I represent the 10,000 folks across the agency.
Right.
This is just one piece of that overall process of delivering the combat capability to the DOW. This jet's going to go to my brothers and sisters in the fight, and we want to make sure it is the right piece of equipment at the right time.
I think that sums it up perfectly. I mean, it's a fun job, but it's a job with a ton of responsibility. So do you ever get tempted to fly through the arch?
All the time.
It was time to head back to base and call it a day. But before we touched down, Kane had one last surprise in store.
Clear visual approach, runway 30 left, runway 30 left, clear to land.
Up and out. How many more of those you got in you?
Wow.
Pretty fun, huh?
Yeah. I bet that was loud on the ground.
That's the point.
So at the very beginning of this video, I said it was our goal to answer the question about why the future looks like this. It's true, this jet doesn't win by being stealthy or being invisible, but it wins by carrying more, flying faster, and outlasting pretty much everything else in the sky. Kane, that was incredible, man. So what do you say? Did this jet pass the test? Is the Air Force ready for it?
We rolled by it fast.
Heck yeah, man. Well, I got one more thing for you. Figured I'd just do a little swap here, pull that off, put the Axis granite patch on. We did it, man. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.
Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll catch you next time.